All right, we are live with Kinndli. How do I pronounce your last name? Let me try that. Hold on. McCollum?
Yep.
McCollum.
You got it.
And you said it was German last name?
Oh gosh, no, that's Scottish.
Okay, that's what we were
Scottish is a
saying
yes.
because we were talking about your name and we thought it was a Scottish name.
It is, yeah.
But your mom is German.
No, not at all.
Oh.
She just liked the name Kinndli, my first name. Yes. It's this little children's book. It's a really neat story. It's called Gone is Gone. It's an old German tale. And the husband and the wife live out in the country and their house is like built into a hill with the grass that kind of goes on top of the roof. And so the husband thinks the wife's job is super easy. And he's like, you go and, till the fields and sweat all day, work out there. And I'll just sit at home with little baby Kinndli. The little baby's name is Kinndli. So as you can imagine, everything goes wrong with his day, thinking it's going to be super easy. And he puts everything goes wrong. The dog gets into the garden, eats all the vegetables. He puts the cow on the roof with a rope down around his waist so it doesn't wander because he didn't have time to take it out to the field. And then little baby Kinndli gets into the milk churner and ends up dumping on herself and just gets crusted in the sun. So it's a really funny story. And the whole thing is what's gone is gone. And then he realizes how much his wife actually contributes, and her job is quite challenging. And so he's like, can I go back out in the field, please? And do my...
Why do guys always need that reminder? That's a cool story. I had never heard of that story. Yeah.
So
great.
it really was just my mom liked the name. And
okay.
Yeah.
So both your parents are Scottish?
We have English in there, Scottish, and
okay.
Native
The
American.
reason that we were kind of talking about this is that Nigel on our team, our operations manager here, is half Scottish.
Okay.
His mom is Scottish. His father is Japanese. We're half Scottish. Our mother's Scottish. Our father's Croatian. And we were thinking, oh my gosh, if Kinndli's Scottish too, we can all stand together and it'll be the most Scottish people we've ever had together in the office. And Alex, pronounce your last name properly.
Baglioni.
Alex Baglioni is the masterful marketer here. Can I call you a marketer or no?
I'm just a graphic designer.
What do you mean just? You slipped in the word just.
Well, no.
This
Okay,
is
yes.
huge for us.
Okay,
Just so everyone listening. Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
Yeah, everyone listening. We have like a real kick-ass marketing team here that does a bunch of stuff on the podcast and the YouTube videos and the social media and the direct response marketing and all the live training that we do to get everyone to come and learn about Rockstar. And Alex is part of that team, and you do a wonderful job. And last Friday on our Instagram, you put in a story about the pastries that were outside there, and my family noticed that I had bought pastries for the office here, but I didn't bring any pastries home. So I hadn't thanked you about that. I just want to thank
What
you.
I do.
Yeah. And the reason, Alex, you're here is tell me the relationship here.
So I practice at PYC pretty religiously. I try and go every day. And now I started to kind of exchange my time there as well in the form of energy exchange. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Yoga's become kind of like my lifestyle. Like it's kind of been interwoven into how I live my life. And so yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I have some questions for you kind of on that. And PYC is Power Yoga Canada for everyone listening. And so Kinndli, like let's start us at the beginning here.
Okay.
Power Yoga Canada today. Tell me what it is today, but then I want to backtrack and like, how did you get here?
Sure. So I'm a co-founder. My business partner, Pauline Caballero, and I started it in 2009 with one studio, similar to your story. You were telling me a bit about how you started in a little hole in the wall. And then it's grown since 2009. We have 13 locations now. And we host worldwide teacher training programs, retreats, and our breadth is just growing. We're just about to expand. We're hoping to expand outside of the province and outside of the country. We had to change our brand to Power Yoga Collective to achieve that one. But
got
still
it.
PYC.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, got it.
So we've expanded the brand now to create an umbrella called PYC, but Power Yoga Collective. And under that umbrella is our teacher training academy, the Pivot, Pivot Accountability Coaching, and our retreats. So we're growing and expanding, but COVID put a little.
Yeah, sure. When I hear what you've gone from one location to how many now?
13.
13 locations. Are these franchise locations? Are these all? These are.
Yeah, we call them affiliates, but it's a franchise model.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all independent owners.
I can't believe how I just think of all the pain and struggle and sacrifice that you guys have gone through to do that. Like that's huge. And maybe it has been just a smooth ride the whole way, but just hearing that, I'm like, holy smokes, there was a lot of curveballs.
Well, we're definitely into people. Like our business is people, so it's been a journey, but I wouldn't want to do it any other way. It's like we're about community and belonging, and so it's really fun to empower, like what your logo is, your life on your terms. That is how our affiliate model is based. It's different. We don't call it a franchise because we don't dictate out to our affiliates all the rules. We want to encourage entrepreneurship, and for them to have the ability to feel like a business owner, and for them to reflect in their community, in their studio, the people that are coming in, and they're also their creative expression too. So there are things when you walk into a Power Yoga Canada studio that all feels the same, and that the experience once you leave the hot sweaty class is the same. But how we all get there might be a little bit different based on the studio and based on the teacher.
Yeah, so every studio is going to have its own energy just on based who's running that studio, correct? Everyone's going to have a little bit of a different vibe.
Yes.
So how did this start? Like, what's the genesis of this? This is an idea? Like, are you and Pauline friends before this? Like,
no.
How does this come to be?
Well, it started, I guess, I lived in New York for a big chunk of my adulthood, and that's where I started doing yoga there. And I took a yoga class with a teacher who did this style of yoga. It's called Power Vinyasa Yoga. It's hot and sweaty, and it's rigorous. Like, you're moving with your breath. So it's a workout physically, but spiritually, it's like a mind blow. You just get taken to a whole other place. And my mind was blown after my first class. I'm like, I don't know what just happened, but I need to come back and do it again. So I started going, and then I started training under this style of yoga. So I did some teacher trainings, and I started doing this was about 2004. And then I realized that I needed to move home to Canada to be able to grow and expand. And at some point, you gotta go back home. I traveled a lot in my adulthood. And
you got that out of your system.
I got out of my system. And then, that saying, wherever you go, there you are, really came into place. It's like, well, I need to be back home with my family, and wherever I am, the same issues were coming up. I'm the common denominator in my life. So even though I traveled around the world and thought, maybe if I lived in Australia, maybe if I lived in New Zealand, or what if I lived in New York, the same Kinndli showed up. So it took all that to realize I just to do my own work. I can be anywhere, and I am the same wherever I go. So I might as well go back home and be with my friends and family.
Cool. So when you say that, that's interesting to me. When you say that the same Kinndli showed up, there were some things that you liked about yourself or did not like about yourself, or there were some things that, like, what does that mean when it was the same Kinndli?
It was more the realization that I was looking outside of myself for something, and that
Got it.
It was actually right.
Got it.
The whole time.
Yeah. Awesome. Wow. That's a pretty profound realization.
Yeah.
So you had that realization then in your 30s?
Yep. I was about 33.
I feel like it takes some people a lot longer to have that realization, and many of us never have that realization. So to have that at that age, that's pretty profound. Like, that's a big deal.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I've always been, since I was little, really spiritual and interested in I don't know, like crystals and spirits and what happens. I've always thought about like afterlife. Reincarnation has always intrigued me, and so I've been intrigued with different spiritualities throughout my life. So I'd already been on that journey of like, who am I? Why am I here? What's my purpose? And I knew after that yoga class and started taking yoga in New York that I needed to share this. Like, this had profoundly shifted my experience of myself, and I felt great in my body. I actually started going to yoga for health. I was bartending for years and loving that life, and I was just sick all the time. I was just chronically sick all the time, bronchitis, and my immune system is really low. So I just saw a thing like, oh, hot yoga is really good for your health, like good for breathing. I'm like, okay, I'll try that. And as I was saying, like my mind was blown. Like, spiritually, I felt like connected to something I hadn't felt connected to maybe ever. For the first time, I felt like connected to a higher something. The connection of the people together. It was this tiny little studio on the Upper East Side, all squished together, sweating together, moving together. It was just this profound experience of feeling like not alone and part of something bigger than myself that shifted something inside of me. And I knew I needed to do more of this, learn how to share it, and then I wanted to teach it. And then eventually, like not much longer, maybe a year later, I moved back home to Canada, and I started teaching everywhere. So I moved into my parents' basement in Brampton. This
awesome.
is like, yeah.
I totally get it. Yeah.
And
keep going. Sorry, I'm just changing your angle there.
Oh, no problem. Making me look pretty.
Yeah.
And then I started teaching everywhere. I was teaching in North York. I was teaching in Burlington, Oakville, Mississauga, Toba. I was just teaching all over the place at different studios in Brampton, all these studios. And at the time, I was the only teacher in Canada that was teaching the style of yoga. I was the only teacher doing this hot power vinyasa specific style of yoga. And I was started to get really disgruntled and like, well, I want to practice. Like
Sure.
I want to practice.
You were
There's nowhere to
giving. You were
go.
giving. You needed someone to kind of fill the tank a little bit because you're giving a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my classes at this one studio here in Oakville were like 80 people. They were just packed. And Pauline, my business partner, was coming to my classes there, and she's the most brilliant business mind. Like you have to meet her one day.
Awesome.
You have to have her on here too. And she saw the numbers. And she experienced the class, and she actually from taking my class went and did a yoga teacher training too. And so she was just so inspired by it and felt the magic, what was happening. And then after class one day, she was like, you know, you need to do your own thing. This needs to be its own space. Like it's something's waiting here. The classes were packed and full. We were turning people away. And so we started talking about owning a yoga studio together, and then everything kind of fell into place. And it was really intuitive. All the decisions I've made, actually, most of my life have just been like intuitive hits of, I don't know why I've been born with a gift of just trusting my gut, trusting my intuition. We talk about that, you know, like, oh, my gut felt right about this decision or not right about this decision. I've just always trusted my gut. And I was just like, okay. So Pauline and I started looking at locations. We found this little hole in the wall. And
Where was that?
it was on Clarkson Road in Mississauga, Clarkson Road North. And there was no signage. This was an old like factory kind of like building. They used to build baskets, I think, in it. And you had to go down this driveway. It was like there was like a car dealership at the front and like a used car dealership. And you had to go down the driveway. And if you go past the train track, that's how we would tell people, like, we would get calls all day. We can't find you. Well, if you've gone past the train tracks, you've gone too far. So back up and then turn right. And so we built this amazing community. I don't know how they found us, but people found it, and we started our first studio there. Awesome. And here's a funny story that Pauline and I, when we went to sign our lease for this building, she didn't know my last name. Like we were so in the flow of just like, it just felt right. Like, yes, we were just in this yes. And then as we were building it, we literally like, you know, cut the floorboards, and we built the drywall with the help of her husband. And her child was sleeping on the floor while we were painting, and we just literally used our credit cards because
That's what it takes. Yeah.
No bank would give us the loan.
Wow.
so
what did you? When was the first? You must have had some. Did you have a freak out moment at some point? Was there something that was not going according to plan? That
Oh,
like, what have
gosh.
we? Yeah, and I'd
no
imagine at this
idea.
point there's been many, but I guess what was one of the first that stands out? We'll keep moving, but I'm just curious. Can you share one?
Well,
Because I think a lot of people listening to this want to start their own business or are trying to change their life, and I think many people think if they're hit with something that it's only them, that they might look at you with a successful business and say, oh my gosh, they just have it all figured out. Like everything must have went smooth.
No.
You know, and I know that's not the case. Yeah. So can you share just like, I don't know,
Yes.
some story that comes to mind?
Yeah, it takes something. We call it the horse blinders. So everyone was a naysayer, like family. So Pauline was in, she was working for FedEx. She was like in top sales. I think she was like the youngest female in sales in Canada at that time. She was just,
Wow, cool.
climbing the ladder. And she quit her job to open a yoga studio. And so everyone in her circle was like, what are you doing? Her parents were like, what are you doing? My what are you doing? Everyone was naysayers. So the thing, if anyone's listening, is like, what is that thing that had us not listen? We call it, we just put our horse blinders on, is that we were so landed in our truth that it had the practice of what we got from it had transformed our lives so much. We call it our why. Our why was so clear that we needed other people to experience this. I knew other people needed to experience this. They needed to have the experience of empowerment and freedom and health in their body, that I had to share it. Like it felt like very much like a calling. In yoga, they call it your dharma. Like it was just, there wasn't any other option at the time. It was like, of course it's going to work. Like, of course it's going to work. Obviously I had negative, worries in my head. Like the night before we opened, we were still finishing, like I remember painting and it was like, what if no one shows up? Like, what if no one comes? And that, those thoughts come in, but then we just put our horse blinders back on and focus on our why. And like, no, they will come because we trust what we've experienced from it, and it had changed our life. our whole way of looking at the world, our whole way of looking at ourselves. And so it was just like, people need this, just trust it. And we joke that we built our whole business on lavender lotion, massaging everyone's neck at the end of class, knowing everyone's name, welcoming them into the studio, and then reading from this little book called Journey to the Heart by Melody Beattie. It was just like a little inspiring, insert reading for every day that would leave people in the last pose, Shavasana. They're laying there. You've done yoga. You're laying in Shavasana, and then we would go around and rub their necks with lavender lotion, and then read out of this book, and everyone, would just turn into a puddle of like, same feeling I had. Like, I don't know what happened, but I want to come back and bring a couple friends with me. And we've pretty much built our whole business on that experience of encouraging, or not even encouraging, just letting people have the experience. And then they go off and tell their friends or their family, and then they bring.
It's almost like the clarity that you were so clear in what you were doing that there was like this like feeling to it. Like you guys just were so purposeful. You were like, we are doing this. And I think people can pick up on that. Like you weren't half in. It feels like to me that you guys were doing this. There was a little bit of fear, which is totally normal, but you guys were doing this. This was something that you were proceeding with. And I think people can just pick up on that vibe. Like I think when people probably first came to Power Yoga Canada, was that what it was called right out of the gates? Power Yoga Canada?
Well, believe me, I had some other really weird names.
I'm sure.
Like Not Your Mama's Yoga was one. Stupid names.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. One of, I don't think we've ever shared this before. One of the, we're called Rockstar Real Estate, which is kind of weird enough, but one of our names is going to be like High Net Real Estate. And it was kind of a playoff, like high net worth.
Okay.
And we're like, oh my gosh, like we're so not about just like making money. Like it can't, but yeah, we all have these kind of names as you start business. But just listening to you, it just feels like nobody could really shut you guys down because you guys were definitive. Like you had a chief purpose and you were following this path.
And it was heart-centered. Like it was very much not about money. Not about money. And it never has been. And we were obviously, doing well. We're able to put food on the table for our children. And but that is the distinction of our business from any other yoga studio. I know we were joking before we started this podcast about like we don't consider ourselves a yoga studio. We use yoga as a medium, but what we're really up to is empowering people into action in their lives. And we happen to do it with hot, sweaty yoga. But we want you to come in and be empowered so that whatever you're excited about, real estate, Bitcoin, whatever you're excited about in your life, you'll go out and do it to your fullest potential, and find your purpose. But we happen to use hot yoga, but it's not actually what we're up to. We're up to empowering people in their lives to be in action.
Why do you think some people are naysayers the way they were? They obviously had the best intentions in mind. Like the people who told you no, I don't think they wanted you to fail. I think they were scared maybe that you just wouldn't succeed. Like where do you think that comes from if you have to reflect back now?
Well, the business model doesn't really make sense. Like, and yoga studios are like restaurants, I guess, the most common to close.
Okay.
So the bank, that was their reason.
So it's just difficult, just the attrition of like it's just hard to make a sustainable revenue from a yoga studio. That's the perceived.
That's the perceived, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would even assert, because so many studios try to be everything for everyone, and that they aren't focused on what they're best at in the world. And we're best at this. This is what we do best. And believe me, we've had I could tell you tons of stories. Like one of our first affiliates, that was their down. They ended up closing, and their downfall was that they started to try to do everything and be everything. They brought in like crazy ideas. And Pauline, this is our first experience of having someone duplicate our brand, and we're like, no, just do hot, sweaty vinyasa yoga. And they were trying to bring in like this, I don't know, music and this, not music, but like I can't even remember stuff.
Yeah, but they were diluting the message.
Yeah, diluting it, and Pilates and whatever, all these other things with weights, and we end up having to pull our brand because it just wasn't what we're up to anymore, which is empowering people into action with hot, sweaty yoga. And that's it. It's really simple. Just show up, be in connection with people, empower them into experience of feeling their body and breathing for an hour, and it'll work. It just works.
So how do you get?
It just works.
And so how do you get over? Because I know you from this. I feel like it's a large location here by Whole Foods in Oakville.
Yeah.
How do you get from there to there?
Well, here it's the same intuitive. So we're in this space, and it was only a 2-year lease. And one of our students was in real estate and worked for First Cap the company that owns the land where we are in Oakville. And she came in and said, we have a development in the space and we want you. They came to us. It literally fell in our lap. And we're like, beside Whole Foods.
Like a great location.
Like,
yeah.
like every yoga studio's dream to be in a Whole Foods plaza. Starbucks, like you've got like big brands in the plaza. And so we were like, hell yes, absolutely. And we were able to open and do our build out by the profit of our studio. So we just.
Wow. So that was so you moved from the Clarkson location to Oakville.
Yeah.
What a great move. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
And then it was from that Oakville location that you started opening up these affiliates. It was from there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we call it the mothership now, the Oakville studio.
Yeah, it feels like the mothership. Everybody, so many people in this area know about you. I'm sure you know that. I hear your name all the time.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and so Pauline and I, our partnership has been like a marriage, but she's really business and smarts, and she's an amazing yoga teacher too. Mm-hmm. We've both had to really learn each other's strengths, but I came in as the yogi, the people. The trainer of the trainees, and then she was really the business mind, and then so she learned yoga and I learned more about business, and so now we really we share the same voice, so we can really interchange ourselves anywhere in the business.
Yeah, what a great partnership. And it seems like you're coming out with a book, you said?
I am. Yeah, I just finished it.
Oh, wow. No, that's super exciting.
I know.
That's super exciting. And I just finished Pauline's book. We were just talking about this because Alex gave me a full 36 hours notice to read the book. But you just sharing everything that I didn't realize how new the book was because you're talking about the COVID era here and what you guys went through. I want to talk about yoga more in a second, or your
love Alex to share too about the energy.
But just on in this book, Pivot, change isn't coming, it's here. Kind of like the whole message is that we're always just being hit with change constantly. What was, as a business owner at that moment, what was that like for you guys when COVID hit? Because you're running an in-person kind of studio.
Yeah.
How did?
And it really showed you who you are. Like COVID really revealed. Like, if anything, these last 2 years have revealed to ourselves who we are and who the people around you are. In that moment, literally within 12 hours, we put together a full schedule of, I think, 10 classes on Instagram for free. And we had the ability to do that because we had so many teachers under our umbrella. So the next morning, we got shut down, and then the next day, we just pivoted right on to online and provided everyone at home because everyone got shut down at the same time in Canada, right? Dead stop, free yoga. And so we did that for a month on Instagram. We pivoted right to online yoga. And then obviously, and there were things in there we had to get in place too. Then the next month we opened up on Zoom platform that was a paid platform because we figured 2 weeks to flatten the curve.
Yeah.
We're going to be here longer.
2 years, yeah.
We're going to be a bit longer.
Yeah.
So,
that's when everybody became a video expert, audio, like how does Zoom work? How does a camera attach to my laptop? How do I get a wide angle?
The ring light.
Yeah, how did these lighting work? No one can hear me. It was a disaster. Everybody went through it at the same time.
And it's funny because Pauline had the forethought of, we need to get online, Kinndli. You need to do teacher training online. We need to And I was a hard no. It has to be in person. Like it's bricks and mortar. It has to be that experience of together. And so it was a blessing in that way. It pushed us online. We launched this Instagram first, and then the next month Zoom. So now we still have our Zoom online platform. It's called Power Yoga at Home, and it's
cool. Oh, so you've kept that now? We
still have it, and we launched another platform, which is an on-demand. So we started to record classes, and so we created actually 2 online platforms. And the Zoom is still going. In a week, we're about to transition it to all live streamed classes from the studios. We put cameras in a few of our studios because right now it's still people teaching in front of the camera to people at home. So we pivoted onto Instagram, pivoted onto Zoom. And at the time, I was in I lead 200-hour yoga teacher training. So I'm teaching people how to be yoga teachers all the time. I was in the middle of a winter one at that time when COVID hit. So we had 2 weekends left, and we had to go right online. So Pauline got her wish of my program going online, and we finished online. And then I ran 2 more 200-hour teacher training programs in that spring of that year, which I never thought I would do a whole program online. And I was blown away how impactful it could be online. It still had connection and community and that intimacy of the personal development work that we do. And I was able to do alignment and anatomy, and it was it blew my mind because I literally didn't think you could ever lead a 200-hour teacher training online, and it worked. And so
Cool.
now
That's a testament to you. That's coming from you as a person. People are picking that up through the camera. Like, you know, you're resonating with them. Not everybody could pull that off. We've all been to different things online where they're not having that feeling. So really, that's a testament to your ability to do that. And that's rare. Not everybody has that. So pretty cool. You guys are a great, you and Pauline are a great team together. I can tell.
Well, and now we host hybrids. So we've gone back to in person, but I have this huge setup with the TV.
Cool.
And a mic, and so that we have people who can be online from anywhere in the world and do our yoga teacher trainings with us.
Oh, wow. And so you are getting people from around the world
We
now?
did. We had someone from Israel and the UK, New Orleans.
Wow.
And
from starting behind the train tracks off Clarkson Road or whatever that is. Yeah, that's great.
Whatever that is.
That's cool. Okay. And then I want to ask you just about where that spirituality in your life comes from in a second. But Alex, I'm curious.
Yeah.
What are you gaining, or like, because you place a lot of value on going to Power Yoga Canada. Like, I can tell the way you talk about it. What are you gaining in your life by going here? Because just from like this, like maybe naive guy's point of view, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like, you just go to yoga and you kind of like stretch a little, and it's like I get to relax and breathe, and yeah, it's pretty good. And so like I have this very like brutal, probably, you know, interpretation of what's really happening here, and it seems like what's going on here is very different. So I'm curious.
Yeah, I feel like I've like tapped into this like addiction, because when I don't practice, my joints feel very dry. And I feel like a tin man almost. So I kind of feel like I have to keep going, like I have to keep moving. But there's also like a psychological like aspect to it as well, where it's just like dumping everything on your mat. So like I started yoga after a really, really bad breakup in 2019, and I needed an outlet, like a physical outlet. And I remember, I think it was a Wednesday night, and it was Tim's class. Yeah. And he was talking about just being present and just letting everything just fall, like just let it fall. And then we were in like, I think it was ragdoll, where it's like, let your head go, or like let your neck go. And I'm like, holy crap, like how have I not like released my shoulders before, or like loosened my jaw before? And like, it's just those little practices that like I've taken here as well. Like if I need to take a second at work, like I'll just relax my jaw now, or I'll just like flutter my lips really quickly. And so I've taken that practice and learned to like even do like ujjayi breathing at work as well. Just staying mindful.
What is that?
It's like ocean waves, or like shoreline.
So it's a
breathing.
style
Like,
of breathing.
yeah. So like
Okay.
you breathe in through your nose, and then you exhale through your nose as well, but you like constrict your throat. So it's kind of like it sounds like waves, like ocean waves. And it's like, it helps keep you grounded, and it's been really helpful, like on and off the mat.
So this practice has helped you kind of like center yourself, because your description, you talked like 10% about the physical aspect, but then like 90% just now about like the emotional and kind of, you know, the psychological almost impact it's having on you. So like it's allowing you to just kind of center your life.
Yeah.
It sounds like.
Yeah. It's
Am I exaggerating here or no?
Totally, 100%.
Yeah. So like this class or going here allows you to pause, reflect, and just kind of like think. Is that what's happening in this class
And connect
for you?
the dots.
And connect the dots.
Yeah,
of-
of your body, your mind, and your spirit together.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have it that's separate. You know, I'll go to church, or I'll go experience spirituality out in nature, and then I'll go to the gym for a workout, and then I'll go to school or, you know, an education system and learn and stimulate my mind. And yoga brings all. So it's a, like, yoga is a way of being. It's a practice. It's a life practice. The physical thing in the West that we call yoga is just one of the 8 limbs. There's 8 limbs, 8 steps of yoga, essentially. And the asana is the yoga is only one of them. So it's a whole life practice that brings the spirit, the mind, and the body together. So it's a beautiful way of explaining 10%. It's so true. It's like 10% is, well, 1/8 is the physical, and
Got
the
it.
rest
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
is that. So you're beautifully describing how it lives off of the mat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and the teachers, when you come, you'll hear it. They use specific words to relate to the physical body, but then you'll use that in your life. And they connect it. They help connect the dots as to, like, well, if that shows up on your mat, like what I was saying, wherever you go, there you are. So whatever shows up on your mat is who you are at work, or who you are in your relationships. And so you're triggered by the teacher will give you these triggers to think about and to realize, well, even in my relationships, I see how I show up on my mat is the exact same. Like as soon as it gets tough, I'm out. Like I quit. I'm down, or I take my water and I drink. And so it gives you this opportunity to look at yourself and see, well, what if I stayed? What if in a safe space to practice doing something different? Like what if I stayed and held the pose? What if I stayed and stayed in the fire of feeling like I want to run, but I'm actually okay. And all I need to do is breathe, take a breath and let go, and I'm okay. And then you use that in your life. And that's what I mean by like empowering people in their lives and transforming. And you just described it so beautifully.
Yeah. Even when there's like a situation, I'm like, oh, like this is kind of like chair pose right now. Like just holding an extra
Really,
breath.
that's your self-talk.
That's my self-talk.
That's fascinating. So this practice then really kind of integrates itself right through your life, because I think Nick, who you know, my brother who you haven't met, he goes to the gym, I think 6 times a week. He would go 7 times a week. Maybe he goes 7 times a week right now. To him, I think that's like it's almost like a meditation to him. Like he's lifting weights and doing like a more typical kind of thing, but he's always described it as like a meditative thing to him, that like he goes there and he kind of gets into this kind of state where it's really beneficial to him. What I'm hearing from you guys is that almost these types of movements perhaps enhance the ability to get to that type of state really well. Would that be accurate? Like the movements that you're doing really help you get in a mindful state? Is that
it's
the right way to think about it?
Yeah, for sure. It's the cues that the teachers, the way they're speaking is like getting really specific, like feel the knuckle of your pointer finger. Like it's when you get really specific and really landed in specifics in your body, it gets you out of your head and down here into your hands or into your feet or into your breath, that we just don't spend the time doing that often. Like you can get into the zone running or in that workout. You can get
that's a better way to say it. Yeah, you're right.
Where time disappears, it's timelessness, and you're really focused, and he's probably really focused on his breath. So he does have the experience of meditation for sure. This has just helped along because the teachers are using words to help connect the dots for you into the present moment.
And that's purposeful. That's what you teach, what to say during these classes to help people think not think in a certain way, but to be self-aware in a different way. Yeah. So if I come to Power Yoga Canada, I've always just thought, oh, you got to like, go to a yoga class because I need to stretch. But it seems like your goal of seeing somebody new walk into your studio, am I using the right language? Yep. Studio isn't like, oh, here's some guy and we're just going to help him stretch. It's much more than that. So when you see someone come in, what is your ultimate goal for that person when they spend time and they're, a client member?
We call them guests.
Guests. Yeah. When they're a guest of yours, if they've been a guest of yours for like a year, what is your goal with that person? Because it seems much more, it's way deeper than I originally thought. I was like, oh, I guess I'm just going to kind of relax and stretch a little bit. But what would your goal be at the end of that year for somebody new?
It would be, in every class, my intention is that they each leave with a more connected sense of who they are, healthier in their body. And that's where like the stretching and the strengthening happens. But really that piece of getting back to who they are. Like I always say in class that yoga is a practice of remembering who you are. It's not finding out, you're not lost. It's not like some piece of you is missing. And that was the experience I had as I traveled the world and tried to live in all these different places looking for something. It was like, well, no, I'm actually whole and complete already. I just forgot that, and I have to remember that. And so yoga is an inward practice of remembering who you are. That would be my goal, or I don't love that word. My intention is that each student leaves with a closer sense of who they are, and that they've done a practice that helps their body get healthier so that they can go do the things they love. If it's golf or having to sit in an office, that they're healthier in their physical body and more connected to who they are in their spirit. And then ultimately, like in the teacher training program, the thing that blows my mind, every time we start the program with a list of what have you got from yoga coming into the program, and then we end, what have you got from the program since we started, what have you got from yoga? And the lists always have, from 1 to 10, it's nothing physical. I healed a relationship with my mother.
Yeah, I'm seeing that. I get that now. I get that more now. Yeah, got it.
I'm speaking my truth instead of clamming up. I'm I have a voice, like, or for the first time, like, I know what I want to do with my life. Like, those are the things that they list off at the end of the program. And then every once in a while you get like oh, I can do crow pose now, or I don't have pain in my low back anymore. And that stuff will happen to me. Like, the physical is inevitable. That will happen if people move. And the practice is really accessible. The style of yoga we do is anyone can come in, and because it's really, you can modify any of the poses. So it's not the type of yoga you think of like pretzel-y and, that stuff you can do, and you might see people in class doing that. But the general experience is everyone is flowing together and anyone can do the practice. And that, oh gosh, I just lost what I was saying.
Why do you not like the word goal?
I hate the word goal. I never use it because we live in the world of possibility, and goal is in the world of change. And I know that's Pauline's book, but she uses the word in how we experience the language of change is about, let me set a goal. And she has this exercise in there where if you think of your life as a pie, a huge pie, and we live most of our life in two tiny pieces of the pie. One is, what you know. Like, we know that's the color blue or the color gray. I know how to speak English, or I know something I've learned in school. And then the other tiny piece of the pie is, what you don't know. So I know that I don't know brain surgery, or I know that I don't know how to speak German, but I could go and learn that. And then those would become, I know what I know. So goals are in that realm of, I don't know that I can run a marathon, but I can train for it. And then it becomes something that I know. This is a tiny, tiny piece of the pie. And then there's a huge part of the pie, which is the unknown, which is the world of possibility. And in that realm, it's you don't know what you don't know. And that, I would say, is the magic piece of what we started our business on, was we just trusted a feeling, like I hate saying that, it was a feeling, but it was something like that, like a
No, don't hate
intuitive
saying
hit.
that. That's a great, I don't know, I feel like
Yeah?
that's a great thing to
People
say.
get that, the feeling, because it
Yeah.
isn't feeling.
Nick and I
different.
argue about that all the time because I go off intuition a lot, and
Yes.
he's very numbers. What do the numbers say? Does this make sense from a numbers point of view? And I'm like, I don't know, I just think this feels right.
Yes. But I would just distinguish between intuition is different even from feeling. We use that word, like it was just a feeling I had.
And so describe how it's different.
I feel intuition is an inner knowing that often doesn't have words. And that's why we find it hard to describe what it is, because it's just a yes. It's just a yes. So
Yeah.
that was the, go ahead.
No,
I
say
just
it.
thought of thing, like when I feel like you listen to your intuition, that's when you start living in alignment with yourself too.
Mhm.
So your vision becomes clearer. And I think that's the difference between like knowing it's intuition or not, because you're just like, you feel aligned when you follow it.
Yeah, there's
Most of the
alignment. Mm-hmm.
Mhm. So following your
alignment.
intuition makes you feel in alignment. So you kind of feel complete. I'm trying to describe that.
You're in
feel
alignment with
complete.
your truth.
Oh, okay, that's a great way to say it. Yeah, yeah.
And your mind will be able to understand this because it'll have core values. And so when you align with your core values, you're more aligned to your truth. But I would say that intuition is even a step further, where it literally is a calling that you listen to that doesn't even necessarily have words. It's just
Got it.
It's just a
And
showing
so
up.
describe that a little bit more for me with how you guys started Power Yoga Canada and with intuition. It was the calling. It was something that you knew, like
Yeah.
you had to do it. Is that, you just felt this must be done. I must do this. Like there's no
There
right.
wasn't
That's why the
any-
blinders were on,
Yeah.
because there was nothing else to see. Like
Yeah.
you didn't care what was happening left or right of you. You were singularly focused.
Yes.
And it felt like that was the proper focus. It wasn't forced.
Yes. Yeah, there's no forcing when you're trusting your intuition. And there was no like cost benefit analysis of, obviously we did our business plan and, we did all that.
Yeah.
But there just was nothing to base it off of. So we couldn't even really run the numbers because it had never been done before. It had never been done by these two people coming together. And so we just trusted that who we are, we're bringing something special to this world called yoga. And what we had was going to be very different. And because of that clear vision, we focused on that. That's all we do. We empower people into action by doing hot, sweaty yoga every class, have them feeling seen, have them feeling not alone, like they belong, is really important.
It's funny, the clarity of doing, like you keep saying that's all we do, hot, sweaty yoga. But it seems like the impact of that's all you do, hot, sweaty yoga, is like so profound. Because when I hear Alex say, like, you're not saying, oh, I just go to this place to do hot, sweaty yoga. You're talking about all this stuff that you're benefiting from. So it's almost like just the clarity of being really great at hot, sweaty yoga is producing all these other wonderful benefits. Do you know what I mean? It's like you're just really good at this thing that you do and you're clear about it. And this, like, all this stuff is coming out of this that has some real.
I wouldn't say we're good at hot, sweaty yoga. We're because I would say that I would define that by like alignment or physically being able to see someone having a transformation in their physical body. I keep using it more around the experience that they're left with is the value that I give it. If I see people, people's eyes are shining, you know, like they're lit up, that to me is success. Whether they have a physical shift or not, to me, the physical experience is going to happen no matter what. As you start to do the practice, it'll align you to your natural, like how you were born. Your body will start to shed what it doesn't need if it's weight or get stronger. It's quite an athletic style, like where you're using your body weight to move. So you build muscle.
As you say that, I feel like I have to correct my posture.
I know. I was thinking that to like bad yogi. So the physical stuff happens, but I think what we're doing is inspiring people to listen to themselves, to discern what isn't true for them, let that stuff fall away and let go, and then have a more connected sense of self. And then they leave their mat and then they know what choices to make in their day, or they're just lighter and happier and impact someone else at Starbucks in line. I keep saying that brand. I don't know why. You know, and then they light someone else up, and it's really that butterfly effect where they leave happier and they make someone else happier, and
wow,
it impacts the world.
I feel like
that
that's
way.
really expected though, because the whole point of like yogic philosophy and stuff is like you're supposed to practice and get like it all out so that when you like reach Shavasana, like you can meditate. So I feel like once we leave the yoga studio, like it's no wonder we're thinking clearly, a little more clear, because we're ready to go, like we're ready for that meditative state.
Yeah.
And I feel like that
wow, there's so much more to
sense.
this than I had ever imagined. So tell me a little bit more then about someone who's not come to Power Yoga Canada. Like, what do you come once a week, twice a week? Like someone like me, I don't know what's going on. So like, do I come there once a week to a specific type of class, or all the classes the same but different instructors?
All the
I
classes
know, like,
are generally the same.
Okay.
It's all again this hot vinyasa style of yoga where you're connecting your breath with your movements. It's a moving practice. We do have a class called Deep Flow, a couple of them on the schedule, where it's a little bit slower, which can be harder for some people because you're forced to really sit in your shit, you know, and be in it. So some people don't like that because you're holding longer. And then we have music classes too. So some classes are just, we pump up the Eminem and the Drake and whatever, and
cool.
just flow and
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. And is there like a set number of times that someone would come to really start seeing a benefit, or does it not matter?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I say 3 is the magic number. Less than 3, you'll get that like stretch. You'll get that physical experience.
Got it.
3 is the tipping point, I find, to start to have that real spiritual.
So 3 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is a lifestyle thing. This is something you're incorporating into your life, that you practice this.
Yes.
Wow. And then tell me about these other, because you have other programs, like on your website, you seem to be very purposeful about certain things. Like you keep talking about community. I mentioned that a little bit. And then to be of service.
Yes.
What do these things mean to you, to be of service? Why is that on your website the way it is?
Yeah, to me, the whole experience is being of service. Like, it's actually how we built our whole brand, is that we wanted to share what we've got from the practice and to serve, humanity, to really elevate humanity. And so that people leave happier, they'll go out and increase, happiness and humanity and kindness. And so the element of service is behind it all. And as people come in and want to own the yoga studio, I always tell them, you better love what you do, because, it's not going to make money for a while. You just have to love it. You have to want to be of service, because if you're about the money, it'll contract the energy of the space and people will feel it and you'll be in scarcity and it just won't work. So you have to be of service to want to own a yoga studio. And I would say that's one of the big differences of why some work and some don't, is that, you got to stay focused on it being for the people and not making it about you. You know, you show up and you make it about them, and you serve. You just show up, you teach a class, you serve.
How do you know this? Because I agree with what you're saying 100%, but you're saying this so definitively. Why do you feel so strongly about that? Just because of what you've been through for the last, I guess, 13 years or so now?
Yeah, I guess.
Because that's a pretty profound business. Like, you're giving some really strong business advice here.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah. Because
I feel like that's the point of life. I honestly, we're social beings, and I think the only point is to serve. You know, whether it's not, you don't have to be a yoga teacher. It could be the garbage man picking up garbage. It could be, the realtor. Everything. If you're of service in your actions, and your intention behind your actions is to be of service, then we're living our dharma. And everyone has to have a job. We need to have all those people in the world. We all have to be doing things. Being of service isn't about, going and do a service trip in a third world country. It's every day about being of service. And how can I contribute out in the world? How can I contribute to this person or this community? So it's really about being for others. Which is one of our core values, being for others.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking the impact you're having on here in this community locally, because everyone who's walking out of your studio there is coming probably out of that with a better mindset than maybe they went in if they had a rough day or something. And then over a year, they might change as a person entirely. And then they're going out into the community, and they're interacting with people in the community. And the way they're interacting is at a different energy level than they were a year ago. So you're actually having this weird not weird, it's nice, it's great, but it's strange too. This trickle effect through the community that you don't even know that you're having, because if Alex leaves and she's feeling better and then talks to somebody in a certain way and cheers them up, that kind of has like a domino effect through the community. Yeah. So almost from your studio there's this, like, I keep saying weird, but it's like this domino effect that goes out, and you're having a really big impact, probably bigger than you know. It's super cool.
I know. I literally have people in my life that come up to me and say, Kinndli, like, you need to see what you've done.
Yeah, I believe it.
I don't have it that way. I'm just Kinndli. I'm just like.
But you're coming from service, and you said something interesting there, that like if you don't come from service, or you're kind of implying, I think, other studios maybe that you've seen, if they don't come from service, they come from a scarcity mindset. And I think when you're giving in life, things come back to you. I don't know how to say this properly, but like when you're always taking, then everything is scarce. Like you're looking for a dollar here or there. You're taking, you're not giving. And just life has a weird way of like responding to that. It's almost like, oh, if you're just a taker, we're going to make it harder for you, and you're going to struggle. And life is going to be about scarcity and stress. Yeah. But when you turn that around, if I look in real estate, and this is very big difference in the industry compared to yoga. Real estate, I feel, is like this cutthroat industry, but some of the most successful people I know are givers.
And I bet they're just out there creating connections with people.
They are some of the best people on our team. And Alex, you probably know some of the names that I might be thinking of. They're just always going like way above and beyond for people, like doing these incredible things that people like will call me and say, Tom, you're not going to believe what so-and-so did.
Yeah.
And they keep getting business and referrals, and things come into their life, and they're just having like abundance everywhere.
Yeah. But it's because they left them feeling a certain way. I wouldn't even say it was the things that they did. It was that those people probably left their.
That's a good way of saying it. I agree 100%.
Because that's what people remember, is how they were left feeling. They don't necessarily remember what you did or.
Totally. I agree. That's ultimately sales. Sales is an energy exchange. And that brings me to you spending time at Power Yoga Canada here. And you mentioned an energy exchange. So like you feel. Why did you use that word? Because you're going there and you're like literally extracting a feeling from being there.
It's actually, if I can just jump in one more time, it's actually the backbone of how we built our business.
Okay.
It's called the Energy Exchange Program.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know this. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
This is an official.
She made it up.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I thought it was like, sorry. So yeah, please describe it. Yeah.
It's really interesting because our whole business model, like we've shared a lot on different platforms with around sharing our advice, you could say, on what we've done. And that is the thing we share, is the Energy Exchange Program, is that we built our whole business on creating a program for volunteers, essentially. So they volunteer a couple hours of their week, and they get free yoga.
Cool.
So and then these are all our staff. So we don't have any paid staff that work the desk. They're all Energy Exchange. So they come in and they exchange their time. But the key is to enroll them into your vision, so much so that they feel like it's their home, their business. They want to be there. And so that's the key, is enrolling them into our core values, enrolling them into our why so that it becomes their why. And really it is their why. And we're just helping.
Yeah, you're making sure you're in alignment for that.
Exactly.
How do you do that? That seems like it difficult. Do some
I think
people
we
just
do it in the
rise
yoga
to the
room.
top? Not rise to the top. Do some people just self-identify? Or no, there's a structure to this?
I think it's just in the yoga room. I think it happens just in the yoga room, I would say. And then we just say, if you want to be part of the energy exchange program, we don't actually have a training. We onboard them, we call it the red carpet experience, like the guest experience when they walk in.
Sure.
But I wouldn't say that. I think it's just a spark that one would feel in the yoga room of wanting to be part of it, like that feeling I had. I want to share this. I want to be part of it. And when they're at the studio, they just feel that they feel inspired, they feel lit up, so they want to serve, and that's at least what I hear from the energy exchange. But they are the backbone; they are the business. We wouldn't have a business if we didn't have the energy exchange program. And then they share with people out there. Our marketing, we don't spend any money on marketing. We've never spent a penny on marketing. Awesome. It's all that the energy exchange people tell their friends, and then they bring people. So it's all that trickle down.
Wow, super.
How do you feel like you were trained? Because it's like we don't really train. We do an onboarding, but it isn't. Like
here's what we do. We just throw you to the wolves, but no, I get it. You understand how you're attending, you're being there, you're part of the community there. You're seeing it, you're learning just through osmosis, if I had to guess.
It's really hard. It's my second, I've been there for a month. I've been eating for a month, and it's been like weird because I come from work directly to yoga. In work, I have a structure, like I'm a very structured person. And then I go to the yoga studio and they're like, oh yeah, like, this needs to get done and that, but don't worry about it. Like, just do it. Like, it has
Wait
to
a
get
second.
done.
When we say that here, you want the structure.
I know.
Alex is always on me, and you're very good at this. Alex will remind me a week before, hey, you have to get that video to me, by Tuesday, because I need time to edit it. And that's completely fair. And I'm more the person like, oh yeah, like, is this going to happen when it happens? And I'll get it to you. Don't worry, Alex. It's all going to be fine. But yeah, so you totally transition.
I transitioned.
Oh my gosh, this is great for me to know selfishly, because now I'm going to pull some of that over here. This is wonderful.
But yeah, I mean, I started eating like really recently, but only because I've been going to yoga, and it's kind of been like a selfish practice for me. Like I've just been going and then going home, like I haven't really been making an effort to like join into the community. And then, so I think it was like, I don't know, last month, I noticed everyone kind of just like moving as one body in the studio, like cleaning, like just talking, like mopping the studio. And I'm just like, oh, like, I feel like I come here enough. Like I should be making friends. Like I should be like kind of wanting to like put little roots here. So then I applied, because you have to apply. You have to like write like kind of a little essay.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
And yeah, it's been really, really fun ever since. But it has been a shift in like my thinking, because I come from like the 9 to 5. And then I just go to the yoga studio and it smells like lavender and it's warm. And then, yeah, I just get on my tasks, and I'm pretty comfortable with it now. But it's like, I don't know, it's like a fluid environment. It's different. It's good though. It's like a good different.
Yeah, it's cool to see that you found something that's like kind of satisfying, and I don't want to say a need, but satisfying something in your life the way it is. That's really cool. It's really rare. It
didn't start like that either, FYI. Like I was quite a micromanager at first.
Because you don't come across like that.
Oh, I've transformed completely. I recognize myself. Yoga works. I like really controlled all the pieces. Like I wouldn't let anyone besides Pauline. I wouldn't let anyone close the studio. Like I had to be there. I had to do. And part of that's like, an old story about feeling responsible for everything, and it's my responsibility. So I had to shed that too. But Pauline and I joke about it, that had I been left to my own devices, I would have micromanaged everyone out of it, and I would be by myself still at that one location. Still, it would just be me. And Pauline really brought that out of me. She really inspired me. And do
you remember how she did that? Is it something that?
Oh, she would just call me out. Flat out.
Okay. Got it. Stop.
You're being crazy. Like people don't want to be around you. Like whatever the thing was at the time. And then it was just self-awareness. So I would notice it. Like say on the desk, and say there's someone training. My old way of being would be like, oh, let me just do it because I can do it faster. And like I don't want to deal with training
classic entrepreneur.
Them.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I would bite my tongue, I did little practices, and I would actually think of like an energetic jar of money, where I'd be like, every time I do that, you have to put money into the jar because you just took away their power, and so it really became, how do I empower others into seeing and looking what I'm seeing. I still find myself sometimes I'll walk in, much less. I feel like I'm much more chill now, but sometimes I'll walk in the studio and I'll just see all the things that need doing, and I can feel my energy being kind of like that, like, and I'm at Kinndli. It's not a big deal. Like, it'll get mopped. It'll and then, but really the how I'm doing it is I'm catching myself, stopping myself, and then being, how can I empower others to see what I'm seeing? And the things would be like, I don't know, salt on the thing needs vacuuming, or like seeing the thing. So instead of snapping at them, which
you're being a powerful leader with that thought process.
It's a different type of leading. Yeah. Whereas the old way doesn't work. That type of leadership doesn't work at all.
Works to a point maybe, but you're right. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But can you enroll others into your vision is really what I'm doing. Enroll them into so if I want the guests to come in and feel like they're at home, and then we don't want the salt there. So it's really enrolling them into seeing what I'm seeing and why I'm seeing it. I'm not seeing it because it's wrong. I'm seeing it because I want it to feel a certain way. I'm using that word again, or there to be this vibe at the studio. And so if I can enroll them into seeing it that way, then the things get done. That's why there is a slight checklist, but it really is, use your intuition. You'll know what needs to be done. The guests always come first. Make sure they're being greeted and welcomed. And so there is that different type of leadership of enrolling others into your vision so that they think it's their own home, their own studio. The studio runs itself. Like, we have a lockbox key. People come and go. Like, I don't know who's there when. It's just
awesome. That must be very gratifying for you. Very cool. Okay, there's a couple of other things I know. I'm gonna run it. No, we still got a little bit of time. This the Pivot Accountability Coach. Mm-hmm. This is like a program that I would think that most yoga studios don't have. Like you guys now. Pauline has the book. I need to ask you about your book a little bit if you'll share. I don't know if you want to share that yet or not. But what is this? The Pivot Accountability Coach program. Like, what's going on here?
So that would be what Pauline is most passionate at in the world, and that's empowering others into coaching. Pauline's an amazing coach. So she's done for me.
So we will bug her to come on here at one point. Okay.
She's hard to nail down.
Yeah, she will. We'll yeah.
She's always working in 5 companies at once, or building up companies and empowering them and letting them go. And so she loves to build up and specifically exactly what she's doing in the book. So she's trying to teach people what she does best at in the world, which is be accountable, empower others. She has vision. She's such a powerful, amazing business partner. And so she's created a program where she trains other people to be coaches, accountability coaches. So it's one-on-one. Really, I don't want to speak for her, but I would say it came out of a looking where she saw in businesses a lack of culture, or a lack of what we've been able to create at PYC, this feeling of empowering your staff to do what you want them to do without telling them to do it, and them wanting to do it. And not only wanting to do it all the time and be there and serve. And so she saw the culture, and she was working in all these different businesses, and she got back into shipping, and she saw that culture missing. And so her intention was to bring our culture through the Pivot Accountability Coach program into other businesses.
Cool.
So she's done that a few times.
Awesome.
I would say the main thing is the buy-in. People need to want it. You can't force this type of culture. People have to want to grow or want to hear something new. So you need buy-in first would be the big thing. Mm-hmm. So that's, I guess, how we get them through the practice. The buy-in's already there. They already enjoy being in their physical body. They practice.
Yeah.
So but she's created this amazing program, and now people are out there who've done her program. They can train others in any business or any avenue of their life on how to be more accountable. And
wow, you guys are just a fascinating story. This is wonderful just hearing all this stuff. If there's something, your book I want to ask you about in a second, but if there's something about yoga or what you guys do at Power Yoga Canada that you wanted to share or wanted people to know about that perhaps isn't shared, is there something that we haven't talked about? Something that goes on at Power Yoga Canada that, I don't know, that is meaningful to you? I feel like we've covered the basis. But I would say the main thing that we haven't said enough of is a sense of belonging, that people can come and feel like they belong. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's huge. Yeah,
okay. And with being isolated for 2 years, that was hugely missing. And it's going to take years for people to heal the damage that's been done in the last 2 years. of the anxiety, the stress, the not being able to get near people without them jumping, or
you see it in the stores when you walk by people. Somebody kind of jumps, even unconsciously. I think sometimes someone steps back, and you know.
So that sense of belonging, and I would say, I mean, this is totally just a personal reflection of looking at like religion and organized religion over the years. There's been a big shift into people craving something spiritual. And so yoga, and specifically our style of how we bring this spiritual conversation into our practice, is filling that void that people were missing because maybe they're not going to church like they used to, you know, growing up. So and I literally call like my class on Sunday, it's at 5. I call it, you know, Sunday church service. It's like, it feels like that for me. It feels like church. And what I would call church would be that feeling of connected to spirit, connected to a higher source, and coming together with people to all be wanting, doing, moving, breathing together for the same reason. And that is created at the community, the sense of belonging. And what Alex was saying, like you see people hanging out, like they're all talking, there's friendships that have been created there, marriages that have been created there. That's I would say the main difference. We've got couches. We want people to hang out. We want people to feel like they can just come and be part of the community, and that everyone is welcome and everyone's home. Like come, like all the misfits, everyone's welcome.
Everyone has found each other and is together.
It's definitely filled a void that I know I was missing, that sense of like I wasn't going to church, and it's filled that wanting to be intentional in spirituality, but not feeling like organized religion felt right for me.
Where does that come from in your life? Because you've talked about spirituality a lot, but you seem to have had an understanding of, had some meaning in your life before all of this. Was that how you were raised or brought up?
I
or
was
books
brought
you
up
read?
going to church, in a United church, so it was pretty relaxed. And my dad was Buddhist, so he would never go to church.
Oh, wow.
I know, but I didn't learn much. I would just see him meditating. I didn't know much about it. And then in my early 20s, I started reading books, all the usuals, Paulo Coelho, and Man's Search for Meaning. That's a great book. I just started I was just intrigued. That spark was in me of like, why am I here? There's got to be something more to this life. I was in sales at the time too. I was like,
if you're in sales, yes, hitting another quota for another month.
And I was really good at it because I was selling chocolate.
That's the danger of it though. If you're good at it and you were selling chocolate, that's great.
Great.
I'm sure you had a lot of free samples. That's amazing.
Cadbury, my trunk was full of the eggs.
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That's a disaster for me. Those Cadbury eggs, but be on a sugar rush for days. But that's almost the downfall. If you're good at sales, you're going to get sucked into that environment, and if it rewards you financially.
But then you get to that point where you want purpose.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that earlier, I think before we started turning this on, but that is the difference, is that when your talent and what you're good at can align with purpose, then like that's the key to me. Like if we can help people find that sense of what are they excited about doing, and that they have some talent and they're good at it, there's something there, and that it aligns with their purpose, some kind of being of service in some way.
Yeah, so cool. What's the book about? What can you share?
It's called Power Yoga Handbook. It is a yoga book essentially, but a big part of it is everything we've spoken about today. I just brought all of our culture into the front so that people have, it's like a little bit of a book in the front with lots of content and like our why and how different practices, similar to what Pauline has, some practices in your daily life, lots of tools of meditation and stuff. And then the bulk of the book are the yoga poses, and I break them down. And I created all around the 7 chakras. So each section of the practice, it actually takes you through the energetic chakras, the whole practice. So I've aligned it to that. And it's just sharing officially having a book now for
awesome
yoga studios.
Oh, that's going to be so powerful for you on many levels. Yeah, that's awesome. Excited to get a hands on. If I I'll save what I'm about to say for another time. I was gonna say that I'm so embarrassed. I can't touch my toes. I can't do any of these things. We didn't talk about. I think because everybody laughs when they see me try to touch my toes. You just get laughed at.
But
not in a mean way.
But that's like guys don't want to come to yoga because the men be like.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that, and I wanted to. Yeah. You have men going to Power Yoga Canada,
tons
correct?
of men.
Yeah. Okay.
We get a lot of guys at our studio, more so than other styles of yoga.
Okay.
And it's funny because often that'll be their excuse of why they don't want to come. Like, well, I'm not flexible.
Yeah.
Like that's like saying, I don't want to go to the restaurant because I'm hungry. Like that's why you come to get flexible.
That's guys' logic. That's how guys work. Okay.
But I would say the athleticism of the class, the accessibility attracts men. We get a lot of athletes. Like we have pro hockey guys in there.
Oh, cool.
It's really neat.
Yeah.
You see these. I see them through the young boys often. It's like, oh my God, you know who that is.
So and so. Yeah,
so I think that's, and we've demystified yoga. We've demystified, like when I'm talking a lot about spirituality and all that, but I wouldn't say that you hear it in the classes.
Got it.
It's just like,
got it.
It's a side effect that happens to happen, but I'm not talking about being spiritual. And, sometimes I might.
And I get that. Like, I get that in the class. You're not always talking about it, but I almost think that that's the big benefit that you're getting, that you don't even have to advertise.
Exactly.
That you guys are giving that to people and they don't even kind of, know what's happening.
Yeah, you got to meet people where they're at. And so people come in the door, you meet them where they're at, which is probably how I started.
Yeah.
I always want to get, like I had bronchitis all the time. I just want to get my low back hurts, or I want to lose weight. That's a big one. So you just meet people where they're at. And then, we just drip, little drips, little drive-bys of the spiritual stuff, or the more transformational conversation comes into the practice. And often it'll be years before someone will hear that, because they're just there for the physical. And that's great. There's nothing like, that's great. Come just for the physical. But I know that if they keep coming long enough, the other stuff's going to happen.
It's going to show. Yeah.
Without them. And what you said was beautiful, is that you don't often notice what you're getting from the practice until you stop doing it. It's like that you were saying your joints were a little sore. I find it's even the more spiritual stuff, or the way of being stuff. Like I'm more reactive with my son when I'm not practicing. Like I have the trigger to be like, Kinndli, you need to go to yoga, because like you're short circuiting really fast right now and snapping at people. Like, okay, I haven't been doing enough yoga this week. So it's more that when you're doing it and you start to get into a groove, and then you stop doing it and you notice, oh, wow, I didn't realize it was impacting my mood. It was impacting my reactivity. I don't react as much. That stuff you don't really notice is happening, but it's all happening.
And you've noticed that in yourself. I feel like you've brought that up a few times.
Yeah, even when I'm at work here and I feel very anxious, I'm like, ooh, how long has it been since I've done like a practice? You feel it.
Yeah, you feel it.
It's there.
Right now, Alex is going to tell us, hey, I think you need to go to yoga.
I have been saying that.
You need to do the yoga teacher
You have
training.
been saying it. No,
Yeah.
And she has been saying
right,
that.
it will come.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't force people again. You can't force people.
Yeah.
You just exude what you've gotten from the practice, and people start to ask.
Totally.
Hey, Alex, like,
what's going on with you?
Chill.
Yeah.
What's going on? Like, what are you doing?
So, what's the best way? Is it on Instagram to follow Power Yoga Canada? The website? How?
Sure.
I don't know.
PowerYogaCanada.com. And come take a class. Come and experience it. It's the key.
And so where are the locations? I should have asked that. Where are all the locations? Someone listening to this that maybe is not in this area, and we have a lot of listeners who are not.
Oh, cool.
Where are some of the locations?
Yeah, we're here in Oakville, Burlington, Mississauga, Guelph, Georgetown, 2 in Mississauga, Etobicoke, and then we have Toronto West, Oshawa, Sudbury, Collingwood.
Oh, great.
And Vaughan.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay, so you guys are all over the place.
Yes.
And then this journey is going to continue, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So excited to track this out and see how you guys are doing. And if there's anything we can do to, support you, please let us know. And you're benefiting us because we get to work with Alex, who's going there. And it's benefiting her. So then it's subsequently benefiting us. So thank you for that. And Alex, thank you for putting this together. You didn't have to do this. And I don't think you knew what was going to happen on this podcast. So
no expectations. It just came in and here we are.
Yeah. So thank you for setting up.
I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, Kinndli, pleasure meeting you and getting to know the story.
Too.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you both. Hey, thanks for tuning in. You can find every new episode of the Your Life, Your Terms show on all the major streaming platforms. So Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. And if you'd like to get free copies of some of the books that we've put together, like these right here, or some of the reports that we've put together, like these right here, you can find all of those at www.rockstarinnercircle.com. That's www.rockstarinnercircle.com. That's it for now. Until next time, your life, your terms.